Professor Dimwit here. Gonna tell you about the time I designed the #1 car on the planet Earth, the Bugatti Veyron. The Germans came to me and they were asking me, we're making a lot of good cars, but just nothing that comes up to par with what your standards are. So I told them, you're gonna need about 10 radiators and maybe about the same number of turbos and the same number of cylinders, give or take. Maybe 16, a W16, W24, you know, something along those lines. And I heard back a couple of weeks later from Volkswagen. They told me, your design's brilliant. So I made some calls. First call I made, called Steven Spielberg. Got a movie deal going about how I made the car, coming out next month. Secondly, I called the EPA. Let them know. Better watch out. Then I called a lot of other people, the president, you know, prime ministers, and just the basic foreign, the top officials in every country, excluding those with allies to terrorist cells and groups and such. And then the next thing I know, I hear from Israel that wants me to design their tank, their new tank, around the Bugatti Veyron. Only problem is, I was scheduled to be on Top Gear that week as a guest host. So I had to decline that offer and do the more important deal. Design Israeli tanks to fight against the Russians in the secret war that's going on the dark side of the moon. An album which I co-wrote and actually did some of the sound effects on. I got an email address I can send things back in time to help musicians back in the earlier years to create the music so that it carries on into today, so that you hear the great things that you're hearing today. That's thanks to me, my responsibility. I take blame for that. Well, anyway, I was designing this tank and I discovered this thing can fly. I never heard of a flying tank before. So I decided it was time to test drive it, test fly it, test tank it, track it. So I come flying down through the desert and past the oasis and hit a camel going 9,000 miles an hour in an Israeli tank that I made out of a Bugatti Veyron. Jeremy Clarkson and Red Green and everyone are standing out there that helped me engineer it. Those people don't even exist. At least I'm sure that Jeremy Clarkson is a fictional character. Has to be. In fact, I was the guy that thought up that genius character. They just don't give me credit anymore. Ever since I got banned from the BBC, that's a story I don't want to go into, but I'll tell you one thing. You don't ever want to spike a bunch of top-level British executives' drinks and then send them home on their way to be, well, I don't know what happened to them. By that time, I had already flown my Bugatti Israeli secret military plane tank under the ocean and under the ice cap and melted it away just so enough to put a new military base there to fight Al-Qaeda. Remember this next time you go to the grocery store and pick up a magazine.